Hey everybody, welcome back to Joe's Corner. Today we're going to be making an old school chicken soup with klunches. I like a German noodle. This goes way back in my family, so I don't know if anybody else is going to quite like it. Probably similar, but mine's good. It's going to be real thick and chunky, hearty. Get you back on your feet. Got 3 cubes of bouillon here and 1 frozen chicken. Now, if you want to make a smaller portion, you can use a Cornish hen. That would work. But I'm going to use a whole chicken today, in case you got a lot of people to feed. Got a big pot. That's really what you need, is a big pot for this. So I'm going to start filling that with water. Unwrap my cubes. This is going to boil for a long time. We're talking hours and hours. You want the meat to fall off the bone. I mean, you could even crack the bones at that point, put them back in and boil them a little bit longer if you want. That's up to you. Get all the marrow out, all the nutrients. This is a really nutritious thing to eat. We'll add a bunch of stuff to it later, but for right now, we just need the chicken to boil. Chicken's been frozen for a long time, but it'll be alright. And the beauty about chicken soup is you can straight take it right from frozen, stick it in the pot, it'll thaw out, it'll do its thing. You won't even have to worry about it. I mean, we're talking several hours here, depending on the chicken. Oh, I don't know. 6 hours. This chicken's frozen too, so it might take a little bit longer. We'll see. Yep, I just dumped it into the water. Get a little bit of water off the top. It's floating in there with the bouillon. Little cube. So here we are at the stove, and got our chicken in there. It really doesn't matter which way it's flipped. I mean, I could put the breast side down, maybe bigger. And I'm gonna go ahead. I don't have to put it on high. It'll thaw. We're just probably gonna put it on medium because I don't want it to bubble over. You could start it on high if you wanted to and just watch it, but I'm gonna put it on medium, and I'm going to cover it. Actually, let me add some salt. Cook it in the salt water. Usually I use a ton of spices. This is one of the things where I don't. Okay, so the chicken's been salted. It's in a nice amount of water. The bouillon's in there. Just gonna leave that on medium. We're gonna check on it some probably a few hours from now. And I'll get all the fresh ingredients and stuff laid out. And it's gonna be great. This is one of my favorite things to make. I don't make it maybe once a year. So I hope you like it as much as I do. We'll be back in a bit. All right, so it's been, I'd say, close to 4 hours. And I'm pretty sure the chicken's ready to come off the bone really easily. So I'm gonna get a tray out. I'm gonna take the chicken out. And I will let it cool just a bit so that I can pull it off the bone. And then I'm going to work on cutting up carrots and celery, getting some other stuff into the pot as we go. No room. No room at all. Okay. Chicken doesn't have to go back in immediately, but this looks like it's just ready to fall apart. Oh, and it is. You can see it just literally fell apart. So I'm going to use some tongs here. I'm going to pull out every bit of chicken I can. If it comes off the bone, cool. I don't have to peel it off the bone. But we're just going to get all the bits out of the pot. We'll put it all back in. Oh, look at that. Everything's just falling apart, melting. Goodness. It's nice, a lot of meat. There's a lot of protein in this chicken soup. There's going to be skin and bone and things like that that I need to kind of pick out here. It might be easy to just spoon it out. I'll pull as much meat out as I can as I go. It'll essentially go back in, but it'll go back in after it's like, I'm kind of like pull it apart, shred it. And just, there's little bits in there. I'm not worried about the little bits so much, but I don't want any bone in here. So it'll take a minute to see if there's any like bone. Always when you cook a fresh chicken like this, gotta consider that bone could be an issue. Eat carefully. It's the same rule with fish, you know, you just never know if there's gonna be a little bit of bone left over. For the most part, this looks like a really good broth. A lot of the water boiled off, but I'm not gonna put straight water back in. I'm gonna put some chicken stock back in. Look at that broth. Holy, all those bubbles and goodness. The bouillon's melted down. That is a very good starter for this chicken soup. I want a little bit more water in it. So I'm going to pour this chicken stock in there and we're going to see where the water level is. Most of this meat's going to go back in and we're going to put noodles and stuff in too. So it's going to rise. It'll rise, but I think I'm going to go ahead and pour this chicken stock in. It's just, I don't want to dilute the base that we have. It's so good, full of nutrients. Sweet, that's the whole thing. So now we got a good level. It's like a good depth. We're gonna add stuff back in, it'll rise. So And I've just got my chicken cooling here on the tray. I'll get into that in a few minutes. First, let's get the vegetables out and their grains. All right, so the chicken's cooling off, right? Got it on our tray. We're really just gonna use carrots and celery here. Well, I peeled the carrot.
Last time I used the peeler.
Oh, it's a serrated edge.
Regular one.
There you go. Regular old peeler. You don't have to peel carrots, but I do. It's kind of a small carrot. It doesn't need a whole lot. I'll cut my carrot into fourths and I'll slice it down. I feel like it'll stretch it for the soup. One little carrot will go a long way. Ain't good. Like my mom likes to do it without carrots and celery, but I think that I prefer this way. Okay, so we got our carrots and celery. It's really the only vegetables you need. Now you get some grains and some noodles. Use about half a cup of barley. I really like barley in this. I rarely use barley for anything. I'm gonna do a little more than half a cup. I'm gonna fill the bowl. It's nice. Do half a cup of rice. Do too much rice, it'll take it over. Maybe a little bit less than half a cup, not like a full cup. And I gotta find some noodles. I like to use tiny noodles, but I wandered around at the store for about an hour and a half and couldn't think of the life of me. What am I looking for? It was tiny noodles. Oops. Let's add this to the pot. Okay, so we're back at the pot here. Chicken's still cooling. Hopefully it's cool enough. I'll start peeling it. We'll find out. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna add my rice. I'll add my barley. And my my carrots and celery. Try not to make a boiling hot mess. Yeah, that went fairly well. I'm also going to add some salt and pepper. Plenty of that. I need to find some noodles. I mean, we'll be making the homemade noodles, but I like to put like a handful. These are big noodles. I'm only going to do a handful or two. I like to get the tiny little stars or something. I forgot. Okay, so now all that stuff in there. We'll give it a stir. Ooh, all the colors starting to look alive. It's not done cooking yet. The rice, the barley, all that stuff has to cook. But chicken to put back in there. Ah, it seems like it's cool enough. Okay. Let's see. So with the chicken going back in, I mean, like, this is a nice big chunk. I'm just gonna shred it with my hands. Hand shred it, hand pull, whatever you want to call it. I'm just gonna put it back in, being mindful. I'm peeling the skin off. I'm going to try to check for cartilage and bones as I peel it. Just want to feel it out. That's also the advantage of shredding it, because then you can kind of determine what goes in the pot, what doesn't go in the pot. This is where some people, before they even get the vegetables in, they go back and they take all the meat off, and then they crack the bones and they put the bones back into the broth. I don't go that far. For what it's worth, I don't think it's, it might be alright. It might be worth it, but. The meat, the vegetables, they're all going to absorb the flavor of the broth. We do the noodles last, the German Klunche noodles. They go in last, so this is going to boil for a bit. Make sure the rice is cooked. So this is probably going to be on the fire for another half hour or so at least before I even attempt to put the noodles in. Nice big chicken. Lots of meat. This is a thick chicken soup. This isn't watery broth where you just sip on it. You're gonna slurp everything so soft. You're gonna slurp. You're gonna get meat. You're gonna get noodles. You're gonna get rice. But I'm telling you, nothing is gonna put yourself back on your feet better than this, as far as like a meal. Wash bones. Now I got the vegetables and everything in there. It's starting to smell like chicken soup. Mm. It falls off the bone. It's so good. That's still a little hot. Ay, ay, ay. Alright, that's still hot. Break that. Oof. Old food, good food like this, it's been around for years and years before everything was super processed. It takes time, it takes care, you know, you meticulously pull this apart, you're trying to look for anything that you don't want somebody to swallow a bone or something delicate, so you gotta pick through, it takes some time, it takes a little bit of patience. Oops. I like to care package this chicken out too, so if somebody's not feeling well, man, I'll just put this together and I'll be like, when can I drop it off? Juicy thighs. Fat's good for you. Truthfully, it is, but a lot of people have a problem with the textures. You get little bits of fat falling in with it. Don't worry about it, but you get too big of a clump of fat or skin, and somebody will just, I don't know, won't agree with them. They might get grossed out or something. So try to kind of clean it up a little bit. Bring the temperature up a little bit. Bring it back up to a boil so the grains will cook. You really want to go old school, throw all that fat and skin in there. Just throw it in there because it's good. It's good for you. This is the majority of it. I mean, I could get really nitpicky with this and start finding tiny tidbits and stuff, but you know, because there's no need. There's plenty of meat in here. I don't have to, but I'm still doing it, aren't I? I don't have to do it, but then I do it anyway. All right, we'll call it there. That is the pile of bone, cartilage, and skin. Awesome. Wash my hands. Ooh, spicy. All right. All right, now we're back to the chicken in the pot. Trying to be anyway. Camera, not much space. Okay, so now you can see just how thick this is. That is so good. I need to boil it to get the grains to cook. That's why the temperature's up at like 7 or 8 here. Also, you need it boiling when you add the noodles too, because they're just going to boil and rise to the top. And once you know they rise to the top, then they're fully cooked. And then you're basically ready to eat. But we'll come back to that. Oh, look at that. Looks good just the way it is. So I'm going to bring this back up to a boil. It's fine. Chicken. Oh, it's good. I'm gonna boil it here. Bring that up to a boil. We're gonna let the grains cook for at least 20-30 minutes. And I'm going to come back with the noodles and how to add them. That's the fun part. All right, we'll be back in a bit. All right, everybody. Now it's time to make the homemade Kluchas noodles. They're egg noodles with flour. You're gonna need a little bit of flour. I'm gonna use 4 eggs because they're a big pot of soup. Usually you can get away with 2. A little splash of milk and a little bit of salt. you just kind of have to play it by ear with the flour. You add it, you need to reach a certain consistency, not too thick, not too thin. So we're going to add as we go. We have the soup up to a boil. I'm just going to get these eggs in here. Yeah, it was a big fail. At least I still have my toes. I'm probably gonna add flour, a quarter cup at the time. Add some salt. Maybe not too much salt, just smell good. I use a spoon to dollop them, but I'm probably going to use a whisker to whisk them. I'll whisk them up a little bit. Break them up. Add a splash of milk. A little bit more than a splash, huh? Milk, salt, and eggs. Whisking them up. Nice and good. Gonna get them to one consistency before we start adding the flour. Add our first quarter cup of flour to the mix. Whisk that in there. Let's see what our consistency looks like. Still kind of watery. We're gonna put another quarter cup. Not a perfect quarter cup. You can just beat it with a fork if you want to. I usually do, but now I got this fancy whisker that I never use. Maybe used it one video, maybe. You'll hear the excitement. Oh, I have a use for my whisker. I don't want to work the clumps out. So it still looks a little runny to me, so I'm going to add another, not a full, but another quarter cup of flour. Work out the lumps. Can't be too thick or you'll end up with rocks. That's what my mom said. You'll end up with some hard dough. Nobody wants that. You want it to be noodles, not rocks of dough. There's a place by us that does a chunky soup, like a chicken and dumpling. This is essentially what a dumpling is, but like, the dumplings are so hard, you can tell they're just like big on flour. These want to be kind of lighter. That's a pretty good consistency. I don't know if you can tell, but the lumps are gone. And see when you drip it, it's thick, but it's not like clumping. That's good. That's what we're gonna work with. That's how we're gonna make our noodles. We use just a little 4 eggs and a little over half a cup of flour, tablespoon of salt, and a little bit of milk. You don't have to use milk if you're lactose intolerant or something like that. It'll work fine without the milk. And then we're just going to use a spoon. We're going to dollop it into our boiling water over there. Let's do a camera flip. Okay, so we got our soup is boiling. Nice and hot and bubbly. Always when you stir this soup, when you're cooking it for like the 30 minutes or so, make sure you scoop off the bottom. Get that barley off the bottom. It may or may not burn when you get it up to the boiling temperature, so I like to make sure I just scoop and fold. But that's nice and hot. We're gonna push down our chicken down a little bit, trying to get the water to the top here. Oh, this is gonna be so good. I haven't had it in like a year. These will pretty much cook as we drop them in. So here's our batter for the noodles. And you really are just gonna like take it and like fling it. This is what the kids like to do. This is my favorite part with other kids, just to take the batter and fling it. Kind of fling it, you know, different spots, inconsistency. Don't shoot the same spot over and over with the dough. Just kind of aim for spreading it out a bit. This might be a little bit runny. Let's see how these pull up. If they pull up to the surface nice. Or maybe they need to be a little bit thicker. Trial and error. Go a little bit thin. I'm going to add another 1/4 of a cup. I'm trying to stir that in there. A little bit thicker. Oops. It's like first person camera now. There we go. It's a little bit thicker now. Dollop that in. They're cooking in real time. You start to see like the little formations of them. They're starting to like thicken up. They look like little cups. Just doing a little bit of cleanup, and you can start to see that, like right here, we got a big one, and then we got a bunch of little ones. Probably because it was a little runnier at first, but then I added some flour. You'll get some thicker noodles. At this point, once the noodles are cooked, it's ready to eat. So you can kind of skim the top. There you go. Look at those noodles. Oh, they just pull up. This is my favorite. I used to call them brains when I was a kid, but these noodles are so good, and like they're really a hit too. Like, go watch, if you serve this to people, they're gonna get a bunch of noodles. I mean, the noodles are right on the top, but that is such an awesome noodle. Oh, yeah. That's going to be so good. I mean, it's ready to eat, basically. My fancy $1 bowl. So a lot of noodles are on the top, so I'm going to try and dig from the bottom. Oh, look at that. Look at this. There's so much nutrition in here. This is a really hearty meal. It'll get you back on your feet in no time. Even if you're not sick or anything like that, you're going to love it because it's just so chunky and good. Oh my. Look at that. Normally I go and I plate it on the counter, but I think this is perfect. Look at that, the big old noodle on top. This is the chunky chicken soup. It's an old German recipe, hundreds of years old. And now you have it for yourself. I love this. I'm gonna get this off the bread. It doesn't need to boil anymore. Move that. Just let it simmer. It's way hot to eat right now, but I absolutely love this soup. This is like my favorite chicken soup on the whole planet. So it's just packed with flavor. It smells so good. Again, I always say this, but I wish I could send the smells to you. That'll really get you hyped. But that's beautiful, chunky chicken soup. Oh, let's see. All the chicken, all the barley, the celery. Man, this is gonna be good. I use saltines. I'm old fashioned. Not just saltines, but I like the little oyster crackers. I throw them in there as a garnish, but I don't know where they're at right now. And I'm not too worried about it. But I'll throw some of those on top and I'll dig in. So thanks for joining Joe's Corner. I really hope you guys like this. Hope it gets you through the winter, through those holidays, where people start to sniffle a little bit. This will get you back on your feet in no time. So, thanks for joining me. This is absolutely one of my favorite things to eat. It's going to be so good. I'm excited. I hope you are too. All right. Take care. Until next time.